us here. So at this time, it is Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. It is now 6:09, and after some technical difficulties, we're going to call this meeting to order. Could you call the roll? I think that would be you, Raina.
Oh my gosh, yes, that would be. Gosh, I'm going to have to get with the program here. Councilmember Diaz?
I am here in spirit.
Thank you. Councilmember Juan?
Here.
Councilmember Wolf?
I'm here.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Tillman? Mayor Cloven?
I'm here as well, and we'll move to item number 2, which is the meeting protocol video. I'm not sure it's going. Is it tee-upable, or should we just tell people that they need to? We're meeting by AB 361, and we're doing it virtually. And if you'd like to raise your hands, do so, and you'll be promoted to speak. And it's always good to have the latest application of Zoom on your phone or your computer.
That's correct. So
I think that's pretty close.
Those are all of the salient points. The mayor will ask for public comment at the appropriate times. At that point, use the raise the hand or *9 feature, and we will accommodate comment at that time. So thank you everyone for understanding that sometimes technical difficulties do still occur. And with that, that concludes the meeting protocol video.
Excellent. And that's item number 2 is done. And as we do when we're meeting virtually like this, we go to item number 3 with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilmember Diaz, I would request you please lead us accordingly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. I much appreciate that. We'll move to item 4, consent calendar. And since this is a special meeting, there aren't any items for the consent calendar. So we'll close item number 4 and move on to item number 5. And item number 5 is public comment on non-agenda items. If you're listening tonight and you would like to speak, now is your time to do so. And as I always will say, you have 3 minutes, and please address the city council as a whole. Please do not call out any one individual. And if you do, please be kind and be respectful. We're all doing the best we can. And with that, Raina, are there any hands?
Yes, Mayor, there is one hand. James, when I promote you to panelist, please unmute your microphone and you'll have 3 minutes, and I'll even figure out how to time it without the fancy timer.
Thank you. I want to again thank each and every member of the council for their hard work. I also want to recognize the 4 members of the council that recently pragmatically voted for approving the 2023 budget. Unfortunately, one member of our council voted no due to his ideology. I was stunned when he said he will not support a future citywide initiative to address our known revenue structure deficiency, which would hopefully eliminate employee turnover, such as the chief of police. Further, to the same council member, to gain police officers' respect, you have to pay them fairly, continue fund training and equipment, and keep the street lights on so they can identify and respond properly to criminals. I know this council member means really well. Very nice person, always returns phone calls. But unfortunately, if the other council members were to join his train of thought, it would lead to a libertarian defund the police movement. I ask this council member to contemplate if it's better for him to continue to serve his ideology, or better, serve the best interests of all citizens of Clayton. Thank you for your time.
It's a good thing those are the same things. Awesome.
Jim, thank you for your comments. Are there any other hands raised for this item for public comment?
Mayor, at this time, I have no other hands raised.
And with that, item number 5, public comment is closed. And we'll move on to item number 6, which is public hearings, for which we have none. And we'll close item number 6 and move on to the main event tonight, which is item number 7, action items. And for item number 7A, we're talking about confirm the transmittal of the City of Clayton's draft housing element for the sixth cycle 2023 through 2031 to the state HCD. And with that, we'll turn that over to Community Development Director, Dana Ayers. I believe you're doing the presentation.
That is correct, Mayor Wolf. Thank you for that introduction. I'm going to
Mayor
take
Cloven.
Mayor.
I am not offended. Go ahead.
Oh, I really can't take that back either, can I? All right. Okay. Mayor Cloven, it's written right on the screen. Should just read it. Thank you for the introduction. As is stated in the agenda, and as you mentioned, Mayor Cloven, the item that's before this group tonight is simply just a confirmation of the submittal of the draft housing element to the State Department of Housing and Community Development for the Department of HCD's review for 90 days of our housing element. I do have a few slides. I'll go over them very quickly because there are a few points I wanted to bring up to this group, and then I'll invite any comments after that. Give me a moment, please, to share my screen. Okay. So just as a review for where we are right now, we are in the process of updating the housing element. The city released a public review draft of the housing element for a 30-day statutorily required public comment period that began on May 20th. We asked that comments be received by June 20th. However, this is an ongoing process and will not be final until the housing element is finally adopted. So we will continue to accept comments after that. But for sake of starting the HCD review period, we did request that comments be received by June 20th. The Planning Commission held two regular meetings at which agenda items included opportunities for public to submit spoken comments, as well as emailed and lettered comments on the public review draft housing element. Those two meetings were on May 24th and June 14th. And then the City Council obviously had its own study session on May 31st at a special meeting. At these recent comment sessions, some of the comments that we heard were to increase densities on sites that were primarily located on arterial streets. So that includes St. John's Parish, Clayton Valley Presbyterian, and the Oakhurst Overflow parking lot. We also heard quite a few comments asking for reduction of densities, which we had at 30 units per acre in the town center. There were some comments about expanding the list of development regulations that could be relaxed, such as maximum density and maximum building height in certain locations, and also adding some additional allowances for reducing parking requirements for residential uses. And then we heard both from planning commissioners as well as city council members a desire to increase the portion of the housing inventory that is comprised of accessory dwelling units. Currently, we have them in the current public review draft housing element. We have them shown at about 2 per year based on the historic average of permits that have been issued. And there was some feedback that maybe we could increase that a little bit. Okay, so as I mentioned, the public review draft is something that this body looked at the end of May. And currently, what you have in your packet is what we are calling the HCD review draft. This is, pretty much, there are a few pagination corrections that need to be made, but this is pretty much the document that's going to be submitted to HCD with a few changes that I'll get to later. Between the public review draft and this current HCD review draft, we did reduce densities in the town center, not to 0, but we did reduce them down to 20 units per acre, which still allows for some of those units to count as very low income units or toward our allocation of very low income. We did increase densities from 30 units to 40 units per acre on those 3 sites I mentioned before, the 2 church sites, as well as the Oakhurst Overflow parking lot. And then we're going to try increasing the number of ADUs that are projected from 2 per year to 4 per year. That'll account for a total of 32 ADUs for the 8-year cycle, based on historic trends, but also on some of the programs that we're trying to implement to promote construction of ADUs in the city. Okay, so we worked with MIG, the consultant, to produce this HCD draft, and then got some comments after that. So there are two things that one thing that we caught, and one thing that was a late request to be modified. The first was a request by the owner of the what we'll call the pumpkin patch site, I think is its common name, to reduce density from 30 units per acre to the current zoning, which is 3, but possibly to 5, but just a lower single family residential density for that site. And then we also needed to adjust the inventory. This was not a public comment. This was something that we caught that we'll need to adjust. The realistic capacity for the Easley Ranch site was assumed at 100%. When we show HCD our inventory, it's not reasonable for us to assume that every site will be developed at its maximum end of the density range. So we adjust the unit count down a little bit to reflect 80% of the maximum. So we need to adjust that and correct that so that we're not showing build out of that site at 100% of the maximum allowable density. We want to make sure that's corrected, because if we don't correct it, HCD will ask us to. So there are some impacts to the housing inventory in this document based on those changes that are summarized here. The total inventory decreases by 100 above moderate and moderate income units and 52 very low income units. Although we also, with the Easley Ranch site, we can account for some inclusionary units that would be built there. So we actually added some low income units to that part of the inventory. The surplus RENA. So again, refreshing the memories of the council members. The city needs to have an inventory that shows at least 570 units. And we've discussed in the past why a city would want to, or a jurisdiction would want to have a buffer to that in case developments get built at a lower unit count that was assumed in the inventory. You have some flexibility to not have to go back and redo your inventory and amend your housing element to find a new site to replace those deficient units. So with these changes, the surplus RENA decreases from about 45% to about 3%. And then the buffer for the very low income unit count actually decreases to below 0. So we actually would need to find new locations for those 10 very low income units. And just noting here that these adjusted numbers already account for the increases in density on the 2 church sites and the overflow parking site, which were increased, as I noted before, from 30 units to 40 units per acre. And this also accounts for units that are identified on what we're calling new site T. This was this is about 1.5 acres on Marsh Creek Road near the Olivia site that the property owner requested be included in the inventory at 30 units per acre. So we've already accounted for some additional units, and this is still the effect. So there's a few things that we can do here. So there are some options for addressing this loss of units in the inventory since we printed the agenda packet for you. One option is to increase densities on site M, which is the pumpkin patch site, and site D, which is a city-owned parcel off of Lydia Lane. We can increase those. They're currently shown at 3 to 5 units per acre. We could increase those to 10 units per acre, which is still a single-family detached housing concept, but just gives us a few more units. So in that instance, the RENA buffer increases not to 45%, but to 22%. And across the income levels, the buffers increase, change from about to a range of about 10 to 20%. Second option is to consider increasing densities in the town center from the 20 units per acre that we changed it to revert it back to the 30 units per acre. That still gives us a little bit of a buffer, not as much as the first option, but it does increase the buffers and puts us back in the positive for all of the income levels. The third option is to submit the HCD review draft as it is. This is an option that the City Council could consider, recognizing, as I stated at the beginning of this presentation, that the housing element is still a flexible document. HCD is going to have comments. I anticipate continuing to have comments with other property owners, including the owner of the Oakhurst Country Club, who has submitted a letter stating they would be interested in pursuing discussions about the driving range site, which was a comment that Mayor Cloven made at the meeting on May 31st. And then so that will allow us to move forward, recognizing that the inventory still may continue to shift as potentially a new site or even a second site is added to the inventory. So that's really all I wanted to share with this group today. The next slide here is just a summary of the next steps in the process. As I mentioned, the next stop for this draft document is HCD. HCD staff has a statutorily allowed 90-day review period. So within that period, we hope to have some interim discussions with them to understand where their heads are and, if how comfortable they feel with this document. But they do have 90 days allowed by law, and we hope to start that process in early July after this meeting. We'll also be releasing the draft environmental impact report for the housing element, and that'll span a 45-day public review period between August and September. We will be responding to HCD review comments this fall, in addition to responding to public comments that we will receive on the draft DIR during the public comment period. And all of that will be packaged up. A next draft, a public hearing draft, what we will call the next version, the hearing draft of the housing element, along with the final EIR, will be packaged up and presented to the Planning Commission for the Commission to make a recommendation and for the City Council to consider adoption late this winter, essentially. Okay, so with that, what we are asking the City Council to do today is just to confirm that we are going to submit the draft to HCD. If there are some considerations that you would like us to consider going forward, namely whether you want us to make any changes to the document, as I noted, we'd like you to give us that direction so that we know, what the council's intent is. Once we have that higher level direction, we can do some refinements to the income levels to make sure that the numbers still work. But again, if there are any comments at this time, I can answer those questions or field those comments or anything that you may have to share.
Thank you very much, Dana. It's much appreciated. And with that presentation, we'll bring it back to the council with questions for our community development director.
Yeah, could you start over?
Absolutely not.
Sorry about that. I just couldn't find a way. I kept trying everything. So anyway.
Welcome. And your timing is impeccable. Are there any questions from council of our community development director? Yes, Councilmember Juan, you're on mute.
All right, that's great.
Excellent.
I know that there's a little bit of flux because of the timing. Is there anywhere in the presentation that captures the changes and presents the 500 or, sorry, the 570, but not the actual 570, but the actual units that we're going to be submitting? Is that listed anywhere or no? Not in the agenda packet?
It's not in the presentation, but it is in the housing element document that's attached to your agenda.
Page
And-
95.
Page, because I was looking all over and I was having trouble. So all right, let me go to page 95.
That's
Okay,
okay, but that seems high.
Yeah, because I don't think this isn't reflective of the changes that you had described. And I think in the staff report you had said because of the timing, it did not make it into the thing, but it will make it into the submission. So I guess my question is there a revised summary that you have that you can display that shows it in a nice table like this or something, just so that we can get a comprehensive view of it?
I don't have a table for you. And for those who are looking at paper, I don't know what the PDF page is, but it's table 5-9.
Yeah, that's on page 95 of the PDF document.
PDF, okay.
So that,
Yeah.
that reflects a total of 829 units with a surplus of 259, which I think is not current based on what you had just described. Is that right?
This 829 total units with the 259 surplus RENA does not account for the reduction in units from decreasing density on site M, because that was a comment we didn't receive until later
in the process. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess, so my question was, it'd be nice to see the update, to get a more current view, but if that's not available right now, that's fine. My second question is, does that also not reflective of the comment from the owners of the Oakhurst property regarding the driving range?
Table 5-9 does not account for that. And
Okay.
the numbers that were in the presentation where I indicated that the number of above moderate and moderate units decreases by 100, low income decreases by 10. That does not account for the Oakhurst Country Club site either, because the driving range, that is, not the parking lot. It does not account for the driving range because we haven't worked out the details of that site yet, how much acreage we're talking about, what density they're considering or that they would request. So I don't have enough information to tell you how many units we could add back into the inventory with including that site.
Okay. Are we seeking comment from the owners of the property?
Yes.
One of them's an attendee right now.
Yes. And they did submit a letter, which is at the top of your attachment 2, where they indicate their willingness to consider the driving range site as potential housing site.
Okay.
I think if we, one of the challenges with this, and ultimately it will be that way throughout the entire 8-year cycle, is that it's a bit of an organic document as projects come online, don't come online, development conditions change, et cetera. And so the goal really for this process tonight is just to say, we're going to submit to HCD. We have a general idea of what's going forward to them. We'll see what their comments are. We're going to continue to work on things during that time frame as well, so that we can come back together with a more refined product that has both additional input from our community, whether it's Oakhurst or whatever, as well as the HCD comments. And so, it's what we will be submitting to HCD is a bit of a snapshot in time, right? So we're just saying, okay, this is the snapshot we're sending you, where are, potential fatal flaws from HCD's perspective. And then we'll be able to come back together for the final version later this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm looking forward to getting to the comment section and discussion. So, Councilmember Diaz.
I just want to clarify process. And Dana, and I think Raina has kind of helped me with this, but for tonight, this is basically a very preliminary submission to HCD, because the way I'm understanding it, there's going to be a longer term process. In other words, you're going to be refining some of the details on this based upon any number of things: input from the developers, input from the property owners, input from the community, and so forth. So just so I have a clear, and we can also communicate this to people listening. One, we'll prepare what we're preparing and going to vote on tonight is a very preliminary look at the placement of the 570 units. They'll be submitted to HCD. HCD will do whatever magic they perform up in Sacramento. And then at the same time, paralleling that, we will be involved in a number of other developmental matters as it relates to that. And then we'll come back together again at some point in the future. Is that correct up to this point of what I just said? And then when will we return and get back to it? Because when do we anticipate, I guess, when do we get HCD's feedback?
So first off, yes, your characterization of this process is correct. HCD is going to review, staff is going to continue to have meetings with property owners, and they're going to continue to give us comments and feedback. And as I mentioned with the driving range site, we'll need to get a little bit more information about how to refine the broad statement in the letter that we are supportive of our site being in the inventory, refined down to, okay, how many acres are we talking about and how many units is marketable for your, for your profitability. The second question you had was about how long HCD's review period is.
Yes, correct.
90 days. They have 90 days. Obviously, we would hope they would take less, but they are entitled to 90 days of review. Starting, we're hoping to have this document wrapped up by early July. And then following that.
So 90 days after July 1st, then just guesstimate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll probably be July 5th, but after the holiday, but yes, in the first week of July.
Good point.
So 90 days from submission to
Right.
them. They have that time. And then when would this document come back to you? We're targeting winter, essentially. So hearings would be between November and January. It would have to go to the Planning Commission for recommendation and then come back to this group for final adoption.
Great. Thank you. That was very helpful.
I have a question.
Yes, Vice Mayor Tillman.
Who?
Vice
Tillman?
Mayor.
It didn't
That's
sound
right.
like Tillman.
Is
That's
It was.
I just have a couple questions for you, Director Ayers. So can I just ask what the rationale was for the owners of, I think it was letter M? I think you said that it was originally going to be, let me see in my notes here, 30 units per acre, and they asked to decrease it down to 5. Did they give a reason why?
The current zoning of their site under the Marsh Creek Road specific plan was 3 units an acre.
Okay.
So essentially they were asking to continue the pattern of development that's already next to them, which is low density. So, I mean, we can adjust it up a little bit to 5, but that's still pretty low density. That's still, 10,000 square foot lots.
Okay. And then, thank you, that's helpful. And then what is an average buffer that most small cities try to have? Is there one?
It's not so much that there's an average. Other jurisdictions that our consultant has been working with, she's seeing HCD asking for about a 20% buffer.
Okay. And with our revised numbers down from the 259 that we lose, what was our buffer? Or we don't have one? And we're actually below. It looks like for very low income, we're down 10 units. So is there not a buffer and we're just at 570?
No, I'm sorry. There's a lot of numbers. So if you don't mind me going back to the presentation.
Okay.
So
17 units, I think you said.
I'm sorry.
Goes down to 17 units is what I think you said.
Yeah. Yes. Which is about 3%. So
Okay.
the 259 is about a 45% buffer, which is, more than what we expect HCD to ask for. And when we decrease the density on site M and we adjust for the Easley Ranch to make that correction, which is consistent with the other calculations in the inventory, the RENA surplus decreases to 3%. The other part of that, though, is that our very low income unit count drops below 0.
And according to HCD, do we need to find another place to put those then when we submit this in January?
Yeah, well, we're going to want to show it now. Otherwise, we'll know that we will get that comment back.
Okay. So then is that something that we need to work together tonight as a group to help you guys come up with?
Well, as I said, there's a few options. We can submit to HCD as it is right now, recognizing that we've gotten some comments back from the owners of Site M that they want the density of their property reduced, but also recognizing that there could be some other discussions with other property owners who are interested in having development on their site, and just let HCD's process play out while we are in parallel having discussions with other potential property owners of inventory sites. The other option is, as I said, we can't simply reduce density for site M without doing something else, because we will we will be in the negative for our very low income unit count. We might be able to move some stuff around, but we're going to probably barely have a surplus in that unit, in that income category. And we will have less than a 5% buffer. And just based on what I'm hearing from our consultant, we're probably going to get some resistance or some comment back from HCD on that.
Okay. And so for the two scenarios then, aside from submitting it as it is, which already sounds problematic, even if we do it in parallel with continuing to talk to the Oakhurst owners about the driving range, are to slightly increase the pumpkin patch, and then I think it was site D, which was Lydia Lane area, or increase the town center units from 20 up to 30, which it sounds like from the community they were resistant to, at least from the survey results and people who have been calling in and commenting on the various outreach that we've done. Okay, that answers my questions. I'll wait until we hear from the public. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? If not, I will open this item up to public comment. For the public that is out there listening, I think we have 10 participants. You have 3 minutes to comment on this particular item if you'd like to. And if you'd like to, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon to speak accordingly.
Mayor, I do not have any hands raised currently. I am speaking slowly to see if any hands come up, and they are not. So you do not have any hands raised to speak on this item.
And with that, public comment on this particular item has been closed. So we will move on back to council discussion on action item number 7A.
Dana, do you want to put the chart that sort of laid out the options, so maybe at least it's easier that people don't have to remember all of that themselves? If you share your screen again, that might help at least refresh people's memory for a little bit, and then we can council can deliberate. Thank you.
She's working on it.
You're welcome to start talking before she does that. That's just an
Well,
aid.
I mean, it's pretty clear this is a draft plan. We got a long way to go. There are several sites that I have challenges with density. There are sites that aren't included. I'm just making a statement that the last council that did this 8 years ago thought that 20 units per acre was not was something. I think they actually started off at 15, but it went to 20 units per acre, and we ended up getting 27 units per acre because of the housing density bonus on the Olivia parcel. I'm very conscious of that because that was not the intention of the city council when they zoned that before. So the idea of putting 30 units per acre or 40 units per acre on a property, and I get it's a numbers game right now, trying to fit what we need to do. I'm also very well aware that the way that our legislation is going in Sacramento, you don't know what that looks like, what accommodations are going to be made in the future to developers to be able to take that existing zoning and do what they'd like to because they're allowed to, and that concerns me. I'm just throwing that out there. That still concerns me. I learned that lesson well from being on the planning commission through the Olivia hearings. Understand it, but it still leaves a very concerning taste in my mouth as we go forward in the process.
It does sound like it's a challenge, but there's also a lot of outs here, especially given we have property owners who have expressed their interest as well. And I think if we follow what the property owners are asking for, then it does align with, I think, the buffer that we're targeting, as well as the units per income category as well. I don't know exactly the number of acres that the driving range represents, but I've been there and it's pretty big. So I'm not sure what the intent is there, but if the owners of that property have a desire to include it, then that I think that provides a pretty good win-win, given that it would encompass a number of units. It helps the owners of the property and it helps the actual numbers. It seems like that's a fair threading of a needle there. But I guess I put a lot of weight to what the owners are requesting.
So can you clarify where that would land, say, in terms of what we would submit to HCD? I just want to make sure that at least I understand kind of what the logical end to what you were just saying was in terms of what actually gets submitted. Sorry, I just wasn't.
And that was kind of like,
yeah,
that was why I was asking for like a current state based on what we have right now, because it's hard to talk about specifics without that present. But I'm trying to like interpret the bullets that are being displayed with the table on 5.9. And I think, let's see, RENA buffer. Yeah, you're requiring me to do math. So I think, in broad strokes, the current state as it is, as Dana communicated, was that it's like a 3% buffer, but that does not include, I think that is inclusive. Let me see if I get this right. I think that's inclusive of the Site M properties at 5 units per acre, but not inclusive of the potential inclusion of the driving range property. Is that
correct?
That is correct.
Generally true? Okay, so whatever number it is, you add that in, and you're going to come to a figure that's greater than what we're at now. I'd have to do math, but I don't know what the county assessor says the driving range property is. Maybe Mr. Alvarez could elucidate that for me, but if not, that I won't look askance at it. He is raising his hand. See, look at that. Perfect.
Mayor, would you like to allow Mr. Alvarez to answer the question?
Please, it would be some good information to have. This is where we had this conversation. So please promote him accordingly. Thank you.
He has been promoted. Nobody can probably see it because the screen is up, but Mr. Alvarez, you're welcome to unmute and provide some information.
Sure, yeah. So the driving range actually, there's 4 parcels that encompass the driving range, and they all kind of corner right dead center of the range. The total acreage of all 4 parcels is far more than what would be developed. A lot of it is actual golf course. I did some quick math while we were sitting here, and it looks to be about 5.5 acres that would be developable there. And if we put the same density on that we'd be looking at for the parking lot site, and Dana, I think you've seen some very preliminary outlines of what our intended use would be there. If it was a similar product, you'd be looking at about 100 units.
So 20 units per acre?
Yeah, correct. Give or take. And it's very, very ballpark, but yeah, give or take.
And as I was saying earlier, as one of the owners of the property, I think what the owner says should carry a lot of weight.
So are you suggesting that we do include it in what we're sending to HCD, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think we're pretty clear that if we send it as it is right now, we're not gonna, they're gonna lead all over it.
Yeah,
So
we
have, I mean, it'd be a lead balloon when it arrives. So, I mean, it makes sense to.
But okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, it seems to me to make sense to add something to at least come up with our affordable housing numbers that were required when we're subpar in that.
But there's no consequence to the review in the 90 days, right?
There's not.
So I mean, we would have time then after whatever they come back with to, my fear would be that we would add something and then they would still come back on it and add more. You know, we don't have any ace in the hole at this point.
Well, we do have other options, right? Even if well, first, Dana, I'm Director Ayers, sorry, I have a quick question for you. I know that you said that this is fluid and that there can be changes that are made, but during that 90-day period, would you try to work this out with the Oakhurst ownership, or will we wait until that 90 days is over? Okay. So can we put something in now before you submit it in July that includes the driving range as a potential option, and you let them, I'm just trying to understand what the process is to let them know that that's a potential. And then the other, to your point about having an ace in the hole, we do have possibly increasing sites M&D slightly higher. I'm still trying to stay away from the town center going up to 30 units per acre. So for now, I would just say option A.
Isn't the town center already at 30 units?
It is, but she asked, the feedback that was received was to drop it down to 20 units per acre is what she put in her presentation. So that's what they're going to submit. She's asking us if we want to increase it on the slide that she's showing us. It's one of the options.
I think that's more like the status quo though, isn't it?
No, 20 is the status quo in the plan that was so current status is 20. What's in the
well, the current active zoning is 30, yes?
No. Don't believe so. I mean, Dana should answer this. I should shut up. But I believe that the answer to that is no, it's 20. We don't have anything currently zoned at 30.
Is it that high or even now in the town center?
That was my understanding, but I could be wrong on that one.
Can you confirm that, Dana?
Well, I can. Yeah,
generally never really like to answer a question about code without looking at the code, but since that's not an option at the moment, the site, the Olivia project has a density bonus, right? And it's about 27 units an acre.
But it was zoned at 20. I guess
It was zoned at
20. It was zoned at 20, and he got the density bonus of 35% based on the 20, which took it to 27 units per acre. So my question is, the vacant parcel next to the tunnel, what is the current residential zoning on that per units per acre? And I thought it was less than that. I thought it was around 8.
Okay, I've made a mistake, because I think, like, in the staff report, it says, what did I read? It says that the town center, sorry,
I gotta go back and look at the old report.
Increased density is 4 units per acre on 3 sites designated just as above, and to decrease the densities to 20 units per acre, excluding 2 properties which have been added at 30 units per acre. So I guess I wasn't clear on what the status quo. I thought when we said decrease densities to
In
20
the inventory. So in the draft inventory, we bumped densities up from 20 to 30 units per acre. And we got mixed reactions to that. So
okay,
we're suggesting
so
the
65,
the current HCD draft is status quo, maintain status quo of 20 units per acre.
Okay. That's why a table would be really helpful. So we're saying 6530 and 6500, those 2 properties on Marsh Creek, those will be increased from their current state, not the current draft, what they are currently zoned for. Are they going to be increased from 20 to 30?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. That's a big wow.
Okay. So I just wanted to clarify, because it wasn't, I guess I didn't interpret it that way when I read it.
And I think the distinction is when I'm in the staff report referencing increases from X to Y, it's from the public review draft too.
Okay. Yeah, I was interpreting that as from current active zoning to proposed future zoning, which is different. Got it.
Should I stop screen sharing?
Yeah, why don't you, then people can see each other. I have a question. If you could clarify, oh heck, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, whether it would be even possible to add a specific estimate of acreage and units related to the driving range properties for the submittal draft, or whether that's just too much to cram in a short period of time, and we would need further into that 90 days to work on that. Because I don't want to force that issue. So the suggestion I heard from Councilmember Juan was, well, let's throw some units in there. So pick a number, whether it's 3 acres or 4 acres or 5 acres, and we pick 20 units an acre, whatever it is. Do we have time to even do that before the submittal? Because I don't want us to offer something up that we can't accomplish.
It's really hard for me to answer that question because I don't know what MIG's workload is and their capacity. I think it sounds like it's something reasonable to change, but this is one of those moments when it would be nice if the consultant could speak to her capacity, her staff's capacity to make those revisions, because it would be a revision to the map, it would be revision to the text, and it would be redoing all of the calculations, which I would guess, just based on how they've turned stuff around before, would probably take about a week and a half maybe, but that's just my best guess.
Again, this is a working document, as you've said, and this is a work in progress. I mean, I could see submitting it as it is, knowing that it's going to come back and we're going to have some pretty significant changes coming up as we work through individual properties and additional properties to meet whatever comments HCD is going to bring back to us. So the next meeting that's going to happen in October, when we bring this back again or November, will be much more substantial relative to this. So I also see the argument for just submitting it as it is with a cover letter saying we're still working on it.
What are you looking for? More discussion on this now? Or
We're basically we're at a point if there's no we haven't. Are we going to give the staff direction to try to add additional units based on this recent conversation we've had, or are we going to ask them to go ahead and submit it as it is and then deal with it when it comes back with the comments which we know are going to come? That's kind of where we're at this point. So, is there a strong opinion from a council member one way or the other?
I don't want to see the staff doing unnecessary work earlier than is necessary. But I mean, it sounds like you're really going to put her under the gun to try and get it done in a week and a half anyway.
And I think,
okay, sorry, go ahead.
You're correct. I think it's more important to get it to HCD for initial comments and get it back so we can start working on it.
Hey, we may be surprised in the end. Who knows?
I think.
Well, we're not going to be surprised. We're already negative 10 houses, so we have to somewhere.
I know.
And so then I just go back to the same question. Go ahead, Raina.
The answer is that they can help us accommodate that if that is a strong desire from the council. We have a very game. I just texted her. She's not here. She's not participating in the meeting, but I pulled in a favor and texted her. So.
You mean MIG? Okay. Yeah. So
what was the nature of that?
Just that they can help us accommodate that and not put us behind if that's a strong desire of the council.
So you would feel comfortable with that then?
I would feel comfortable not sending it as is personally, just because I don't want to put a bad taste in their mouth. So unless it could be a cover letter letting them know that we're going to come in the next 90 days with some additional properties and edits, I would look to them to give us guidance on which looks better. But just submitting it as is doesn't seem like the right way to go to me.
I concur, Vice Mayor Tillman, that I think it'd be good to kind of get some feedback from MIG on this, which would be the better way to send it, and what the optics are from HCD's review. Would they have a predisposition to going, wow, these people aren't serious, or what would be the optics there of sending it one way or the other? I don't know what their process is, anyways.
May I make try
Please
to
do.
answer this question? I think it's a question. So I guess I don't know either, but my suspicion is that if we send this document to them with a cover letter that says we're going to change it, they're probably just going to say, well, show us the new version. It's like, here, start reviewing this. You're going to get another one in 4 weeks because we're going to keep working on it. If we're going to transmit it that way, I think it's either one or the other. We either need to submit it as it is, or we wait and submit something that looks different after it's adopted.
Which is when?
It has to be adopted by January 31st of next year.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant this early draft.
No.
But they can, I mean, I think, if we get direction this evening for the general parameters, which it's sounding like drop the pumpkin patch to what was requested, add the driving range. Those are the two biggest pieces. There's some other up and downs, but those are kind of the two bigger, newer pieces. And and direction that it's okay for staff to work with MIG and kind of put together the best version of that to submit to HCD while we're continuing to at least, kind of clarify some of those things during the process. Then we should have a decent draft that we're sending to HCD that looks something like where we might head. And so we're not just sending them something and then changing our mind completely, but it keeps us on track. What would be more problematic would be, we don't have another city council meeting scheduled till July 19th. If we don't submit near the beginning of July, we will be substantially behind the 8 ball and not capable of really meeting that timeline effectively for the January hard deadline. So that's why I'm asking if we can get general direction, and with the understanding of kind of where the council wants to head, then we will go ahead and do that. And we will, submit to HCD. We can certainly provide that information back to the council. But then, we wait for HCD's comments after that before sort of, more direction.
If MIG is comfortable with that turnaround time and Dana is comfortable with that turnaround time, then I think that's a good way to go. I'd be inclined to support that. You're on mute.
With the understanding this is still a draft document, this is not a final. Trusting MIG and your staff to put together something that is submitted without our final review, because it is a draft document that we've given you direction right now. I'm okay with that as well.
And you're okay with it, Dana.
The Dana is more important than the Reina in this regard. So I'm going to give it to the Dana, or the OSU for those of you who are following that Ohio State case and the Buckeyes.
Yeah. It sounds doable is what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If MIG can accommodate, then I can make that work too.
Okay. Great.
Do you need like a bottle of wine as well?
Or a lot of coffee.
Well, I'm good with all that. That sounds, I think we have, I don't know.
Or both.
How Jim feels. Or both. Wine and coffee.
I missed your comments, Jim. Councilmember Diaz?
I don't know. What was Wolf asking me?
No, I was just saying, I don't know.
I'm okay with what you're discussing. Right.
Okay.
I'm not okay with the wine and whether frivolous things he was.
Wine and coffee?
Whatever.
Whatever.
He's a Scotch guy, so.
Yeah.
Then from what I'm hearing at this point, the direction is please make the modifications based on conversations with Oakhurst to what makes a sense to add it to the draft document that's going to get sent to us HCD. And upon doing so, go ahead and do so. And send us a copy accordingly, and we'll look forward to their comments and talk about it when we get their comments back.
And I will just note the HCD draft, just as a public review draft, will be posted to the city website. We don't have a problem doing that. So everyone will have access to it.
Can we make sure there's like a nice table that has?
Oh my gosh, give me the table.
Yeah,
I love tables.
I would concur with this.
Tables are nice.
You should see the red of my document because I'm trying to put things together. I get it.
So if I could try to summarize what we have site M which is the pumpkin patch at 5 units per acre.
Yes.
Dana, is that correct? Yes. And the Oakhurst the Oakhurst driving range at a similar density to the Oakhurst parking lot, with some figuring out of how much that really turns out to be. Including the town center properties at the 20 units per acre, which is consistent with current actual zoning, but not with the intermediate that was in the public review draft. And the allowable densities on the 2 church properties go to 40. Are there any other components, Dana, that I've missed?
No, that last one, the 40 is already in the HCD dropped
It is.
for the 2 church sites and the Oakhurst overflow lot.
Okay. So I think that summarizes the general direction, both to incorporate changes that we had by the time we wrote this, Dana, wrote the staff report, and also that have come since then that we've been talking about this evening, primarily the pumpkin patch site and the driving range property. So I think those are all the components that we need and that MIG needs in order to produce a final draft document to send for HCD review and post to our website, and then move forward from there and do some refinements. But that would be the direction that we would take in terms of what the city will submit to HCD as a review draft.
Sounds
That sounds good. And does that then take us to, I'm just going to guess, over 117 to 120 units, right? We were at 17 units without that included. So I'm assuming that he said it's approximately 100 more.
Something like that. I mean, we'll have to actually look at the property and determine if what the acreage really looks like, but we'll make some assumption there.
Okay. I just wanted to see that the buffer was bigger and make sure that we're all on the same page. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
And there's no action on this item. Is there a need to, or is direction enough, or do you need a roll call vote on this? I think we're giving you enough direction.
Yeah, I think we have our marching orders.
Excellent.
I think we're clear on where to go, and I think I appreciate the consultant who is not working this evening and is not supposed to be on this call, who just very kindly answered my text and allowed us to answer the question and be able to move forward. So appreciation to MIG and certainly to Director Ayers for all of her work on this, despite my saying that she could do this even if I wasn't sure that she wanted to agree to it.
Thanks, Dana. Much appreciated.
Thank you both, definitely. And with this, action item number 7A is closed. And we get to move to item number 8, which is adjournment. And it is now 7:12 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. We'll see you all again on July 19th.
Thank you.
All right,
Enjoy your time.
difficulties. Thanks.
You bet.